So I've modified all the methods in our post component and added this error handler function as the second argument of the subscribe method. Also note how I have formatted this code. With this formatting, you can clearly see the arguments of the subscribe method. So we have the response and error at the same level. So always pay great attention to the formatting of your code. Treat it like a book or newspaper, so someone else reading your code can easily understand it. Now that aside, let's see how we can handle expected errors. So here in delete post method, we know that it is possible that the post with the given ID does not exist on the server. So our API endpoint is going to return a 404 message. If that's the case, we want to tell the user that this post has already been deleted. So here in our error handler, we need to check the status of the response. So if error dot, now here we don't have IntelliSense because the type of this error, as you can see, is any. So we need to annotate this with the response class. And we should also put this in parentheses because in arrow functions, whenever you use type annotation, you need to put parameters in parentheses. Now we get IntelliSense and compile time checking. So error dot, and look, we have access to all the members of the response class. So if error.status is 404, we want to tell the user that this post has already been deleted. Okay? Otherwise, we want to display a generic error message and log the error. So I'm going to move this in the else block. Now to simulate this error, instead of sending post.id here, I'm going to send an invalid ID, like 345. Because this fake service has only 100 posts and the ID of the last post is 100. So save, back in the browser, I'm going to delete a post here, and we get this message. This post has already been deleted. Now let's take a look at another example. So I'm going to go in the create post method. Let's imagine this API endpoint responds with a 400 message in case of bad data. So once again, in the error handler function, we need to annotate this parameter with the response class. And then check the status of the response. So if error.status is 400, now here, instead of displaying an alert, let's imagine we have a form. Let's imagine we have a complicated form. Instead, we want to display error messages next to input fields. So earlier in the section about reactive forms, you learned how to add errors to a form programmatically. So if we had a form here, we could type something like this form.set errors. Now here we can pass the error object that comes from the server. So error.json, just like how we call the JSON method on the response object, we can also call the JSON method on the error object. And this is the error object that comes from the server. So this object potentially has a bunch of key value pairs. Keys represent the fields in our form, and the values are the errors for those fields. So if we have a 400 message, we display the errors in the form. Otherwise, we display a generic error message and log the error on the server. Now this line is not going to compile, and we don't currently have a form here, but I wanted to show you how to handle bad requests. So for the rest of this section, I'm going to comment out this line and simply add curly braces here. So this is how we handle expected and unexpected errors. But there's a problem in this implementation, and we're going to look at that in the next lecture.